to showcase some of the work that they're doing, not only on microcreds, but in the broader context. I suppose just to sort of give you a little bit of a flavour in terms of the work, if we look at the collaboration and the great work that our networks do with the higher education institutions, consistently TUD comes in as one of the top 3. So it's great to see that there is already the pedigree and the willingness to collaborate there. And great to see that we're going to hear firsthand today some of those case studies in terms of what's come to fruition over the last while, and also to hear the network manager voice in that process as well. So I think some great learnings ahead. So really, you know, I'd like to hand over to Claire, but firstly to thank them very much for facilitating today's session. So Claire and Dee, thank you so much for being so proactive in your approach and looking to roll out the session and shaping it together. So without further ado, I'll pass over to you, Claire. Thanks a million.
And thank you very much, Aoife, and a very warm welcome to you all today. We're delighted to see so many of you joining us for this session designed really to help the business networks better navigate the university enterprise ecosystem. I'm equally aware that many of you on the call are masters of that navigation exercise, and we look forward to that exercise being shared also. So my name is Claire McBride. I'm the head of the Enterprise Academy, a relatively new business unit at TU Dublin, effectively set up to support enterprise and industry partners navigate the university system for workforce talent development. So very close alignment there with the Skillnet Business Networks. The purpose of today's session is really to provide you with an overview of how we do that. Two elements of that. One, the navigation role is becoming increasingly important as we see an uptick in demand for cross-disciplinary programs. So in the past, we would have very commonly seen enterprise networks and enterprises connecting directly with schools and faculties. Now we're seeing that navigation role coming into much clearer focus as that cross-disciplinarity and need really expresses itself across enterprise programs. So looking at things like digital transformation, sustainability, leadership, and then some of the sectoral focuses that we would have typically seen. So today I'm joined by colleagues and counterparts from the business network community and from our all-important enterprise learner community. And I think we can agree that that's our fundamental purpose and our mission indeed. So in preparing for the session today, we wanted to focus on demonstrating our workforce talent development capability, not through an abstract discussion of the types of programs that we can offer, but rather through the lens of selected programs that we have co-designed and collaborated on with the Skillnet Business Network community. So hopefully you'll see strands that are very familiar throughout the presentation to come. So just some quick housekeeping details. The session will be recorded, so you'll have it in your inbox next week. We invite you to use the chat function to post questions as we go along, but we also have 2 specific Q&A sessions because we want to make sure that this webinar is dynamic and takes everybody's views and queries into account. We will close by 4 p.m. sharp. We recognize that everyone has busy schedules, so we want to respect that. The structure of the session to come is a mix of presentations and contributions from both Skillnet Network leaders, directors, managers, and also the all-important learners that I mentioned earlier. So one last technical detail, would just ask the speakers to switch on their cameras and mics when they're making the contribution, and potentially just to switch those off afterwards. So on to the programme, and thanks very much to Aoife for the warm opening welcome. So a quick overview of the TU Dublin Enterprise Academy and the university itself in terms of its current constitution. Then we'll move on to those exemplar collaborations we have. So 4 examples there, and all quite different in terms of the range of solutions that we have co-developed and co-designed together, just to give you that flavour. And I'm sure there are many of you on this webinar who have indeed co-designed and collaborated on other programmes, and we'll be very happy to hear from you on those as well. The 3rd section then is the learner panel discussion. And again, we'll have two sessions of Q&A, and we'll close with next steps. So on to just waiting for the slide to move. On to a quick overview of Technological University Dublin. We're Ireland's largest technological university and indeed the first. And we operate across 3 state-of-the-art campuses. We have approximately 30,000 students or learners in our community, and that ranges between undergraduate, postgraduate, and post-experience. And largely with Skillnet Business Networks, we're talking about post-experience learners who are in enterprise and are with us on a part-time basis. So that number of 8,000 effectively there. We have over 1,000 academic collaborations of all sorts, so directly with enterprise, with networks such as your own, and indeed the Enterprise Academy likes to prime on those. We find that a particularly effective mechanism of bringing solutions at scale to enterprise learners. And obviously we have a range of industry partnerships, a significant number of those. So on to the Enterprise Academy. I did mention that we're a relatively new business unit here, and we effectively broker university enterprise partnerships. We do that in 3 ways. So first of all, co-design, and that would be our primary vehicle with Skillnet Business Networks. And typically there we're responding to a tender, and we sit down and discuss those needs to the extent that's possible in advance of an open tender situation. And then we enter into that full co-design phase with an all-important discovery aspect to that. So not just what is the shape of the solution, but also who is the learner, what are their preferences in terms of how they learn, and then how would we shape and effectively design the program before launch. So then we look at collaborative provision, and collaborative provision is effectively a mechanism whereby we work with the solutions that many of the networks have already created or have envisaged, and we effectively quality assure those and validate them so that they are certified and credit bearing. So again, we have examples of both of these today, and we'll walk through those with you, and we're very happy to follow up on any questions that you may have in terms of the distinction there. But essentially, the collaborative design recognizes and accredits existing industry programs through a quality assurance methodology. Then thirdly, we have essentially our enterprise faculty, and that's where we invite in members of our enterprise community to effectively work with campus learners. Often those individuals in enterprise are seeking to build their talent pipelines through things like guest lectures and something that we work with very commonly, which is live enterprise challenges, where enterprises bring us knotty business problems and we work with groups of learners and students to solve those either over the space of a few days or more commonly over the space of a semester. So moving on then. The characteristics of how we work together. Essentially, looking at the building blocks there, we are agile in terms of our response to business needs, and we'll see that in examples of some of the programs that we've co-created with the business networks. So one of those in particular, or we would have a range, but some programs up to postgraduate diploma level being designed and developed in the post-tender phase within a period of 3 to 6 months, which is quite agile in terms of the work that we do at the university in validating that. Co-design, we're very open in terms of our approach to that. So we partner actively with business networks and with their, be they round tables or working groups effectively, to make sure that we are getting the design right, not just in terms of the learning content and the learning outcomes, but also the style of delivery. We bring to bear deep sectoral knowledge. So at the Enterprise Academy, we have a team of professionals with an academic background, but also with deep sectoral understanding. So be that food, pharma, medtech, be that ICT, fintech, be that retail, tourism and hospitality, or be that creative and cultural. And we're moving into the construction sector next. So then moving on, looking at the style of learning that we employ, very much an applied context here. So application to practice with theoretical rigor. So that we would see in terms of a research informed approach, but also individuals learning to learn. So we're changing at such a speed now that individuals, managers, people in enterprise need to skill themselves up to work with that change, and being what we call critically fluent, if you like, through that combination of theoretical rigor and application to practice, that builds that capacity in the enterprise, but it also builds the relationship with the university, whereby people return to us either for further upskilling or potentially for research projects to engage in that way. At the midpoint there, you see authentic assessment, and that's really a core characteristic of how we work with enterprise learners, and in particular with Skillnet Business Networks. So there, as you'll know, there is an assignment element to all of our programs, which are accredited, and we are encouraging our learners to work on the business at the same time as they work in the business, by carefully curating and designing assignments that will move the business forward, whether that be strategically from a technological capability point of view, or from a skills point of view in respect of discovery, design, marketing, etc. And we'll hear some of those examples coming through in the learner testimony. So moving on then, just in terms of synopsizing what we do and how we do it, we listen to the talent development needs of our industry partners, and we effectively design to that need. I'll just mention to my colleagues that my cursor is not working, so I'll just look for some support in moving that ahead. Thank you. So in terms of university enterprise ecosystems and really what we are helping the business networks to navigate, this is a visual which by definition is complex in its nature. So on the left-hand side here, you see the TU Dublin ecosystem. That is made up of a collection of colleagues across faculties and our professional services bodies. And effectively, we have 5 faculties, 24 schools, and 3 campuses. And I already mentioned that we're seeing increasing requirement for cross-disciplinary solutions. So the need for careful navigation of that context has grown. So next, looking at our enterprise partnership sphere, we see some examples here. One of the things that we work quite hard on is case study, just crafting case studies around the programs that we build with our enterprise partners. That not only illustrates what we can do at the university, but very importantly, it illustrates the learning and business outcomes deriving from those programs. So a range of partners there, and you'll have seen some recent launches, sports tech being a major one with Digital Skillnet last week, and we're looking forward to some upcoming launches as well that you can keep an eye out for. So very importantly, on the right-hand side here, you see our business support agencies. And as I've already mentioned, at the Enterprise Academy, we're very keen to advance our work in this regard, because we're bringing together and aggregating the needs of sectors and of collectives, if you like, so that actually we're building repeatable, scalable solutions for enterprise. One of the things we hear from our enterprise learners is that there's a plethora of solutions out there, and not only do our networks need help in terms of navigating the university context, but equally our enterprise learners and possibly senior managers in enterprise need help in terms of looking at the array of solutions and deciding which ones fit best for their enterprise needs and for the needs of their talent base effectively. So just moving on in terms of the characteristics of the work that we do, really carefully listening to the needs of enterprise and then brokering the talent development solutions on behalf of and indeed with our industry partners. So we bring to bear the disciplinary knowledge from the faculties in the schools, and we bring that together with the representatives of business networks. And as I mentioned already, the business steering groups, the round table discussions, etc., so that we're in very close proximity with the enterprise and the enterprise learner when we're designing programs. So just in terms of our core business, if you like, and one of the reputations that we're very proud of is the speed of employment after graduation. So this is looking at primarily our undergraduate body, but that 82 to 87% of graduates in employment after 9 months. Clearly, we're in a context of full employment, but one of the characteristics that continually is fed back to us is the work readiness of those graduates, and that's partly down to the applied nature of the learning, as I said, very much research informed. And that translates, as you've seen, into the work that we do with enterprises and with business networks. So we're moving now to another section of the webinar, and this is whereby we're going to talk you through some of the solutions that we have co-created with Skillnet Business Networks. And I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Dr. Dee Duffy, to talk through two of those collaborations. Over to you, Dee.
Thank you, Claire. Thanks very much. Okay, so like Claire said, we're going to just chose a cross section, I suppose, of different collaborations that we have to date across the university. So we're going to go through four. I'll introduce the first two case studies now. So the first one is a collaboration between TU Dublin and the Biopharma Chem Skillnet. So let me talk you through the different steps of it. So this was an initiative that a partnership that started in 2019, so with the Biopharma Chem Skillnet, and it came from a recognition of the Skillnet community, the Biopharma Chem Skillnet community, that they wanted to develop a more engaging mandatory training for their industry partners and members. So the what is they reached out to TU Dublin's Virtual Interaction Laboratory, and that's headed up by Dr. Brian Vaughan of the School of Media. And together they looked to solve this industry challenge by co-designing immersive virtual reality training with the Skillnet. So why would they do this? So there's three key benefits of this partnership for all stakeholders. Firstly, it's vital and mandatory training, and it's provided in a much more innovative manner than maybe traditionally mandatory training might be seen as. It saves time for all stakeholders involved and increases the engagement and the knowledge retention of participants on the training program because it's more interactive and gamified. So as I said, the collaboration started in 2019, and since then they've developed 3 of these manual training programs in the health and safety space. And indeed, these are been nominated for awards, these programs in innovation and technology. So it's a great testament to that kind of cutting edge work that's happening between industry and TU Dublin. And so obviously the beauty of the training and the time-saving aspect is that it's on-demand online virtual learning. So it empowers the learner to engage with it at a time that suits themselves. So so as I said, the problem to be solved was basically the Skillnet approaching TU Dublin to look for this solution for on-the-job, tacit and experiential learning. So the learning solution that was co-designed, some of the kind of characteristics of it is mentioned short online virtual reality technology. It's evergreen content, and it's gamified so that users can go through almost in, you know, as close as you can get to reality, virtual reality in the training process. But practical, and they get they do quizzes along the way, the educational component of it, and there's recognition